Hello again, and thank you for coming back to my channel and see some more of what I have to say. I am going to be presenting the end of my government series now. I have stated all of the things that I think we need to do to make the government of the United States of America more efficient and more responsive to its citizens. And I'm calling this Government 5, and this will be the last of the government presentations that I make. Now, on Government 5, what I'm going to be describing is what I feel the country will be like when you adopt everything that I've said that we need to adopt. So I'm going to be telling a story about how I see our community reacting, what the jobs are the different people have, and how things function to the best that I can communicate it in the next 20 minutes. So I might as well get started. And what we want to do, as I said before, is women have to be equal, absolutely equal. All of the things that I say contribute to making this work the way that it's supposed to be. But a lot of women being equal will get in place some of the things that I'm suggesting, because those are the things that need to be done as well. One of the major things that I've come across that has bothered me is the Supreme Court's attitude that a couple of them, one of them is that they have the attitude that is cruel and unusual punishment for the convicts to have to work. I think that's about as much garbage as anything I've ever heard, because no one in the world gets along unless they put some effort in and create something, or someone is taking care of them and giving it to them. That's the only way you survive. Otherwise, you're going to end up starving to death. And if you say that's not true, then go tell that to the millions of people that have starved to death. Now, what we're going to have to do is make sure that that is looked at on a more realistic basis. Yes, we can't have slaves, but on the other hand, anyone that survives has to work. And when a convict does something illegal, I don't think it's forced labor to make him have to work. He basically did the things he did, trying to cut corners and trying to get an advantage for himself that he didn't have to put as much effort into doing. He was trying to steal what someone else had. And that is the same attitude that managers that are taking way more than they're entitled to from companies are doing to their employees. They're stealing what actually belongs to someone else. The other one that I'm talking about is their attitude that force someone to testify against themselves. Therefore, they've outlawed what we would refer to as a lie detector. Now, lie detectors are machines. They're not perfect. They don't work accurately. So it is not right that you should ever accuse anyone of anything just because the machine said it. So I agree with that part. The machine does not end the subject on the matter. What should end the subject on the matter is when you found overwhelming proof about what actually happened. As I mentioned before, you can think anything you want, but actually after you make a decision and you do an act, that's a part of history. When people start to say something is history that isn't, they're testifying against themselves. So yes, I agree. We can't tell people they need to lie. We don't want people lying. We want people not to comment if they have a right not to comment. And much of our life is actually private. No one can ask a question that you have to answer unless they're part of the government investigating a criminal act that they're trying to solve. Now, if they're investigating a criminal act, you have to answer any question that may lead them to be able to find out what happened in that situation. If you ask someone a question and they don't want to tell you the answer, and it's not a criminal investigation, they have a right not to tell you. Now, another thing that I think is wrong is when they say, we can put you in jail for lying to the person that you're talking to. That's baloney. Some people are going to lie just to protect themselves. They don't get punished for trying to protect themselves. As far as having lie detectors, they should not only be used, they should be used extensively. When people are investigating people and asking questions and they're applying for a job, there are times to know if the person you're talking to may be hedging on something you want to know. If you want to know something about your business and how it relates to other businesses and what this past history this person has that may affect their representation of your company, I think you have an absolute opportunity to use a lie detector when you're questioning them. It doesn't mean you can accuse them of lying. You can say, I just wanted to clarify in this area some other questions I had, and ask the questions you want. The person gets down to the point he doesn't want to tell you something, he can say, no, I choose not to answer those questions. And if you don't want to give him the job because of that, because you think it will affect your business, then you haven't let him not work for you because of any particular nationality. It's has to do with his past history that you're having a question with. But if everyone knows that many, many people are using lie detectors, I consider that no difference than everyone having a camera on their phone. They could be taking a picture of you out in public at any time. You don't need to have permission. The fact that you're out in public has given them permission. So unless they zero in on you and get in the way of what you're trying to do, you just go on with life and you move on. When lie detectors become as prevalent as cell phones, and probably they'll have a lie detector on the cell phones as well, you just go on with it and go on with your life, and you won't have to account to anyone that you don't want to account to, unless it's a criminal investigation. Now, that being said, that has to be incorporated into the rules because that has to be part of the new system. And the new system is going to be represented, in my opinion, like this. And that is, every single citizen in the United States of America is going to be able to understand that in this society, he has absolute freedom in the society. He's equal with every other human being. He has all the rights and limitation that every other human being has. Now, when a person doesn't feel that way, that person has a problem that he needs to get fixed. If the problem is with his thinking, then he needs to get his thinking fixed. If the problem is with the system, then he needs to do what is necessary to change the system. We don't want wrong things going on in the system. When the system has all free people in the society, no one person has more rights than others. We want to keep it that way. And we want to have everything in place that will always step up and correct the things that have gone wrong. We will have no government employees at all, as I said before. Everything will be subcontracted out. When things have to be done for the public, it will have to be done through contract. Will the legislators that are elected to office have to be intelligent enough and skilled enough to draft the contract? Not necessarily. If they know how to bid the work out so other people can draft the contracts for them, and it can be more efficient and more effective to do it that way, that's what they should do. People have to learn to do what is best for everyone and what is the most efficient and what is the most productive. Because in a capitalist society, that is what makes the society so that everyone has things available to them. The reason we can have no government employees is we can't have people allowing their horsepower engine to run amok where they can basically subjugate another citizen to a slave society or a slave position. Every individual is free and remains free. And that means men and women alike, or the high IQ and the low IQ, any way you want to phrase it. The people that are different are able to have the best of their ability to be equal with other people, and we don't punish them because they're not the same. We recognize that opinions or attitudes are like snowflakes. Everyone's different, and you don't get punished for any of them that you have. The only thing we punish people for is the way you treat other people. Now, the way we're going to do that is you're going to have one industry that does the work. We'll use an example that the legislators have to have our secretaries that type up work for them, prepare all the things that are going to be heard, all the things that are going to be talked about. Those jobs will be subcontracted out. Now, the legislators have to know they have to stay within the budget. They have to understand what the general gross national product of the nation is. So their budget should never be more than 1/3 of what the gross national product is at any time, because they have to make sure that they have enough money to pay for everything they're going to do. And if they can't pay for it, they don't pretend they're going to do it. Now, we're going to encourage nonprofits like we do now, and nonprofits fill in a lot of work what governments are responsible for doing. So if there's enough nonprofits to take the slack away from the government, then the government can do other things that they would like to do, but under normal conditions would not be able to afford to. Partnership with the nonprofits, they will be able to, all government work will be contracted out. What we refer to now as public utilities, they've been paid to do the work by the community. The taxes go to the public utility. They get to charge people for their work, and they can still do that kind of thing, but they have to do it within the boundaries of what they're providing. And no public utility that we have now, we have a public utility. No public utility can have a monopoly. Every public utility and every one in the city that lets out the bidding on people supplying electricity, fuel, water, anything, has to have at least two companies in the contracts. One company cannot provide everything. That is a guaranteed way to make sure we're not getting the advantages of capitalism. And when they're coming up for renewal, you'll ask the executives, is there any time that you can tell us that things didn't work like they should have? And we're asking those questions as a elected official that wants to provide water utilities to the public, because it's our job as a servant of the people of the city to provide them electricity, gas, and water and sewer, and any other public utilities that are deemed necessary by the city. But we have to make sure that those are competitive. There's always someone else that can look over their shoulder. Someone else can undo what they did. No government official that gets elected will ever have any position where he can vote on something, make a decision, and that decision has to stand. In every single community, every single decision, there will always be an alternative way for individuals to get out of everything. Only the people that are paying that particular company for that particular product are able to vote. And if majority of them vote to overturn, people who are not interested or don't care or not affected by it, they don't count. Only the people that are being affected count, and they're the ones that have the say-so. That's why it's an absolute, totally free system. There will never be any slaves in this society. Therefore, it will always be a free and just society. That's the things that have to be in place. In automobiles, in transportation, in everything there will be nothing that is fixed in stone. In the government, anything that is decided has to have an in-place system at the time it was decided to be overturned. In addition to that, we have to push the national enforcement agencies to the things that we want to do here that are absolutely imperil to have a free society. And the major one I'm talking about there, besides making women equal, is that one human being cannot kill another human being. In the United States of America, 100% of those cases are always solved. And the reason I know that is if you have to have 3 or 4 layers of enforcement agencies and one that only looks at cases that have not been resolved in the last 5 years, they will be skilled enough and educated enough to figure out how to find the culprit. We want everyone, whoever they are, that kills another human being to be discovered, found out, and prosecuted. We don't want them to go without being punished. Without punishment, people will continue to do it. When 100% of people start being punished for an activity, the word will get around the society. Well, you can do that, but if you get away with it, you'll be the first one in history, and there'll be a lot of people trying. That's why the ones that are very good at it have to know what the actions of those people are, what their background was like, and how to hunt them out. We have to be able to solve 100% of every killing that goes on within the borders of the United States of America. That is another thing that guarantees we will be a free and just society. And everyone deep down wants to be free. The only exclusion to that are the horsepower engines that have run amok and have the attitude already that we'll just kill anyone that doesn't agree with us, so we have absolute control and benefit from everyone. Now, the reason I mention control and benefit is when we do our government, we realize people cannot do that because we have laws in the United States of America called the Sherman Antitrust Laws that says you cannot have any industry large enough that it interferes with competition, produce and provide for the community the item they're providing at the most efficient and cheapest price available. That's what makes it a capitalism. And all the laws need to be in place to make sure every industry stays as close as it can to a capitalism. And anything that is interfering, fix it. We'll go to the judiciary. Their judiciary has to provide a service, and they can charge for it. On the internet, we have Amazon that uses the internet. We have YouTube that uses the internet extensively, and they make a lot of money. Well, our governments can do the same thing. There's nothing to prevent the government from engaging in business. It's a part of capitalism, but they have to engage in business for the benefit only of the society, not for the benefit of themselves. Government only prospers, not profits from. Government cannot be in business for themselves. They have to be in business for the benefit of the citizens at the time, to keep their taxes low that year. The city can figure out ways to basically partnership with other entities so they can give the people more for less. Then it's an opportunity to take advantage of it. It's only when it doesn't prove to be more for less that the citizens can immediately stop it. So we want the legislators to do what they can. When you're wrong, the citizens are going to override you. And that has to be a definite part of the system. The judicial branch of government can have an internet system where any citizen could go online and put in any number of facts on a situation, and the internet will tell that individual exactly what the outcome is going to be. And 100% of the time that that law goes into court and is adjudicated, it will come out exactly like the law said it was going to. There are no professional politicians. No one is in the same office more than 2 terms. No term is ever more than 6 years. So people who are in office are people that have spent more than half of their life not in public service. So they should have learned all of the rules. And when they get into government, they cannot have control and benefit from anything, not even one thing. We want all citizens to flourish the best they can. And we want most citizens to flourish because they obey the laws, they respect all other people, they haven't done things to damage other people, and they've moved forward to enrich the society and the world without damaging other people. They have control, they have benefit, and they haven't damaged anyone. That's what we're looking for. That's what capitalism promotes. So that being said, I will now terminate government number 5. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you coming to my channel. I think if I've said anything that you agree with, that you will continue to support me so I can continue doing this, and you will subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up, showing that other people that you did approve of some of the things I said. Thanks again for coming, and for now, I'm signing off. Goodbye for now. I hope to see you again.